Good afternoon, everybody. Verl Workman here with RISmedia's Content Solutions Broker Best Practices webinar series. I want to welcome you all and congratulate you for blocking valuable time out of your day to spend with us. We have an incredible topic today, the power of coaching and unlocking potential and unleashing your profit in your brokerage. And I'll tell you that this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart as a business coach and someone who's been involved in coaching for a lot of years. I can tell you that coaching matters. As we're watching the Olympics right now on NBC, I can't wait to get home every night and look at the Olympics. And last night as I'm watching the Olympics and our great Olympians are winning their gold medals, the first person that comes up to them is their coach, because I know how much time they spend with their coach as they get their big hug and their high five for accomplishing great things. And all of the best athletes and all the best performers that I know of all have multiple coaches. They have coaches in finance, they have coaches in business, they have coaches in their specific skill. Executives and business leaders have coaches. And the purpose of today's call is to really talk about how coaching can impact the brokerage and the specific strategies and processes that some of our best companies in the country implement to be able to have coaching success. And so we're excited that you're here. We have great content, we have great information that we're going to share with everybody today, so buckle up. Once again, I'm Verl Workman. I'm founder and CEO of Workman Success Systems, a coaching company that specializes in team building and building successful seven-figure teams across North America. I want to encourage everybody to stay on till the very end of the program, where we have a really cool free gift, which is a download, which is a kind of a coaching implementation strategy that'll be showing you. We'll give you a link on how to get that. And also pay attention during the call. If you have a question that I haven't asked, and I'm genuinely curious, but some of the best questions we get on these webinars comes from you, the listeners. If you have a question, identify on your toolbar the questions and the little question button where it says comments. Go in there and ask a question. If you type your question in during the webinar itself, I'll be monitoring questions, and if there looks like there's a lot of if there's interest around a certain topic, then at the appropriate time I'll pause for questions and make sure that we incorporate your questions to our guest panelists. You know, these RISmedia's webinars are very powerful, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work from a lot of teams to put these together, and we always are grateful to our partners who help make these webinars possible. And we have a special guest with us today, York Baur with Moxi Works. He's the CEO of Moxi Works, and Moxi Works has a productivity platform that I find fascinating. It helps brokerages and their agents flat out become more productive. Today, Moxi Works agents handle over 5% of the real estate transactions in the United States. And York specifically has built his career on helping sales teams excel through automation and technology. And York, I love that part of your background. I'm all about incorporating technology. I want to increase the touches I have with my clients and decrease the number of touches it takes to do that. And with over 30 years of technology and industry and marketing experience, he's a true expert with an executive marketing role, even with companies such as Microsoft, and being the CMO for Seattle Space Needle. And that's kind of cool. One of the coolest places you can ever go visit. If you haven't been to the top of the Space Needle, you need to do that. Well, York, thank you for your partnership. Thanks for being here. And tell us a little bit more about what Moxi Works does.
You bet, Verl. Thanks to you also for having us, and I want to also acknowledge RISmedia for this opportunity. I'm going to be brief because it's all about our two customers that are with us here on the call today, but by way of introduction, and thanks for yours, Verl, really as you said, we have a agent productivity and success platform that I'll describe in a little bit more detail in a second. But the thing for the audience, I guess, to know is that we are a broker-centric company. We certainly exist to help agents be more productive, but we do that through the brokerages that we serve, and we're keenly focused really on the business results. It's not about technology to us, it's about helping achieve a business result, and to us that means helping a brokerage more effectively recruit and retain agents and make them productive, and then of course increase revenue through that and reduce costs, not only technology costs, which are the obvious things, but also other ancillary costs for various marketing programs and the infrastructure required to operate a brokerage. And if you could flip to the next slide, one of the ways that we do that is through this concept of an open platform. So we have a technology platform that really simplifies and automates a ton of things in a brokerage, single sign-on, and the transfer and the sharing of data between various applications. And we put both our own applications on that platform as well as, because it's an open platform, really any third-party application can live on that same platform. And it allows our agents and brokerage clients to much more fluidly operate the technology they have. But I want to focus on one piece of that technology specifically today, and it's really that first bullet. It's germane to this coaching conversation that we're in today. And we have our own CRM. It's the Moxi Engage CRM. But one of the key attributes of that CRM, you'll hear about this throughout the day today, is that it implements a sales discipline that the brokerage gets to specify. And so it very nicely complements the training and coaching initiatives inside your brokerage. And that's one of the reasons we see with our mature clients adoption above 65% of the CRM. And we think that's just absolutely key to producing those business results I spoke about. And then one of the additional things that's unique is that we provide a manager dashboard in the CRM that allows and really enables that manager to be a coach. You're obviously in the coaching business, Verl, and we can use outside resources, but that we believe at least that manager, that first line managing broker, is really the key point of influence. So we're giving them a set of tools to get on the same page with their agents and coach their agents more effectively. And I'll let Jeff and Obi talk more about that. But thanks again for the opportunity here, Verl.
I appreciate that and encourage our brokers that are on the call today to reach out to Moxi Works, find out more about what they do, and figure out if their solution will help them create a better productivity within their own companies. And you hit all the things that brokers care about: agent recruiting, agent retention, increased profitability. If you can do all of those things, I'm in, and you don't even have to say anything else. That's awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks again.
I want to now introduce our first guest today, Obi Jacobi. And other than saying his name, I just want to say it over and over again, Obi. It's such a cool name to say. Welcome to the call. Obi is the president of Windermere Real Estate. And let me just do a quick introduction. Obi Jacobi brings a second generation of leadership to Windermere Real Estate, which was founded by his father, John Jacobi, in Seattle in 1972. As president of Windermere, Obi has helped facilitate Windermere's growth into the largest regional real estate company in the western United States, with literally more than 6,000 agents and over 300 offices in 11 states and also in Mexico. So not only helping the company grow, he also oversees operations for 6 family-owned Windermere offices. So he's a master franchisor and company-owned offices plus their own offices. I think that's just a lot of responsibility and a lot of experience. He also serves on the board of the Windermere Foundation, which has provided over $30 million in funding to nonprofit organizations that support low-income homeless children and their families. And of all the things that are impressive to me, Obi, that's the most. So welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Verl. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Windermere, first of all, and why you, as the president, decided that coaching was something that was important to you.
Yeah, let's go down that road. With the rise, how do I go down there? With the rise of the internet and everybody searching for internet leads, we decided a long time ago, in about 2007, that we needed to adopt a strategy that had more to do with sphere-based selling and working with our databases rather than trying to scour the internet for leads. And so we contacted Larry Kindle from Ninja Selling and partnered with him. And the idea was to bring the Ninja system, which is sphere-based selling system, into Windermere and to give our people kind of the basis for what a good system is. And we felt like that was an important step in getting our people on the right path to having a sustainable business. So we engaged with them, and over the past, I guess it's been 8 years, we've had about 3,200 of our brokers go through the program. So we're heavily into the Ninja system right now.
So the first question that comes to my mind is, you talk about deciding that you needed to have somebody from the outside come into your company to help train them. A lot of companies your size try and do everything internally. Why did you decide to go outside?
Good question. We do have a fairly substantial training and education center within our company. And what we did is we went out in the market and we saw who was really succeeding. And Larry Kindle and the group in Colorado had year over year outperformed the market. I think they were the #1 company on sides per agent for about a decade, and I think they still are, matter of fact. And so when we went to Larry, he has about a 200 broker company, and we kind of went to him and said, hey, how are you achieving this success? And he walked us through the program, and that's kind of why we decided to choose that. What we average about 13.5 transactions per agent, and for us it's all about our agents' production and happiness. And if we can continually increase that through coaching and training and then reinforced support, then we think that's kind of the key to our success.
Well, I think it's awesome that you, sometimes we all think that we can do it all ourselves, and by looking for expertise in certain areas of the business where you may not have that expertise, and going outside and bringing that in is a huge compliment. I think it requires sometimes us to remove our egos as business leaders to look outside for solutions.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about kind of the process that you go through. Customer-centric business strategy system, what does that mean?
Well, it's not what we believe, and I don't think it's any big secret, is that we want to have customers for life. It's not just about one sale. It's about becoming friends with our people and being the support system that they need throughout this transaction, their kids' transaction, their parents' transactions, throughout their life. And as we all know, real estate is a highly stressful transaction, and so for us, having a customer-centric business strategy really is how can we help? That's kind of the basis behind it. And so that kind of permeates throughout our culture, which is more of a, hey, we'll do whatever it takes to help our customers for life. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. So as you're incorporating kind of the coaching program, tell me what the brokers or the agents' experiences are going through the program.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting because you stated something earlier, how we're a franchise business. We have about 325 offices up and down the West Coast. And so to create a system that everybody follows is difficult. We landed on Ninja, and there's many more. Verl, you've got a great coaching system as well. And so to get people involved, I think it's important that you find a system and stick with it. Now, for us, different offices have different ways about doing things, if you will. So a coaching, once you go through Ninja, the program that we took over from Larry is a 4-day program. It goes from 7 in the morning till 6 at night, so it's very intensive. And once you get out of that program, we arm our managers with kind of, okay, what's next? What do you do? How do you follow up with our agent population? Some managers do group coaching. Some managers do individual one-on-one coaching. Some managers do whole office contests, for instance, that with check-ins and all the rest. So how the agents go through it and how they continually go about it is really up to the manager and what kind of style they want. And a good example right now, we have 3 of our offices, for instance, are in the middle of a lead generation, if you will, contest, and it's all based on Ninja principles. So that you have a scorecard and you have a possible 10 points per week, for instance. And I'm not saying this exactly right, but it's close. And so if you write your 2 letters every morning, you get a point, and you got to turn in that card at the end of the week to the manager. And we'll get the whole office, and we'll challenge. The 3 offices are in it. It's obviously it's called the Olympics right now. And at the end of the contest, or the challenge, will be a 2-month deal. We'll have a an event, a barbecue for the office that wins kind of thing. And it's all about connecting to your sphere. Whether you're making phone calls, going out for coffee, writing your notes, doing unsolicited CMA, whatever those things are, we think that's kind of a cool way to do some group coaching, if you will. So, back to the question, which is, I think it's different for all of our people on how they go through it based on the manager's comfort level and what their expertise really. I think the key
so I like that. So
doing it.
So one of the things that's interesting to me is the tracking and the tracking of results. You said something just now that I'm a huge believer in, and that is, everybody likes to tell you their numbers, how many they sold, what they did, what their GCI is. But I've learned as a coach, if we track the activities that generate the results
right.
take care of themselves. And
That's
so
right.
by tracking the numbers and the calls and the reaching out to your sphere of influence, are you using Moxi Works? And how are you using Moxi Works to track some of that stuff? Tell me how that works.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I was just going to give a plug for York on that situation. I think the key to all of coaching is accountability. And, in our olden days, if you will, as a company, we would, people sit down with their agents in November and December, and they do business planning for the coming year. And how do they keep track of what that business plan was? Do they write notes? Do they keep it in a folder? Do they put it in a folder in the file folder in your desk and forget about it and never check in? I think the key is constant check-in of that business plan. Well, we use Moxi Works and the manager dashboard to do just that. The agent, it's a great program. The agent sets their goals, and it's tracked throughout the year on MLS statistics and their actions throughout their sphere-based selling. So connecting with their clients and such. Well, the manager can see that and then address those issues with the agent on a very specific basis. Hey, I see you haven't done such and such in a period of time, and is there anything I can do to help? Manager can take notes within Moxi that then they can go back to that agent 3 months later and say, hey, this is what you said back then. How's it going now? So we use Moxi as a management tool for making sure our agents are engaged and following their business plan.
So I love that. I love that you're actually having them do plans. They're putting their plans in, and then you have a level of accountability. And you said something that I think is critical, but I want to expand on it for just a minute if you don't mind. As you said, accountability is critical to success in coaching. How do you deal with the mindset of the agent that I'm an independent contractor, I'm a realtor, I don't want to be held accountable. If I wanted to be held accountable, I'd get a job.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's slow going. You got to earn their trust at what you're. Here's an interesting. This is a kind of a weird deal for us. Our business model is a little bit different than others. We are a capped threshold, if you will. So once an agent earns a certain amount of money, they go to 100% with our company. So we don't necessarily make any more money by somebody making $1 million. But our goal is to have agents who have lots of transactions and are happy with their business. So it's a trust that we have to earn with our agents that say, hey, we're not trying to get into your business for reasons that aren't, authentic. We want to help you succeed. Now that doesn't happen, everybody jumps right on board. A lot of people don't do it. It's a lot easier to set the stage with new agents than it is with, somebody who's been with you for 20 years.
Absolutely, too, and they have to kind of opt into wanting to be. I like to say that accountability equals love. We care about you enough to hold you accountable.
Yeah, that's right.
Some people like to view it as micromanaging, and I can tell that that's not your style.
No, by the way, have you told that to your wife yet?
It does not work in a marriage environment.
There you go.
I learned that if I ever tried to hold my wife accountable, I get the cold, long winter look.
No, it means love, honey.
Right. Yes, ma'am, is what I've learned to say. Okay, so just real quick, so you talk a little bit about the philosophy of the company. How do you go about executing or implementing a company-wide program like this? And yeah, I mean, it's a big deal.
It's a good question. I think the industry as a whole has suffered from lack of management training, and so we recently, well, 2 years have gone by now, we hired the old CEO of the group, a guy named Eric Thompson, that was a huge part of Ninja training when he was with Larry. They had an amicable split, and we went to Eric and said, hey, can you head up our services company in Colorado? So he said, great. And then as part of that, his passion is training and coaching. So for us, he developed a manager coaching program that deals specifically with how to hold your agents accountable, how to do business planning, how to run a profitable office, all the things around management that the industry doesn't seem to have. By the way, shameless plug for him as well is that's a program that he runs independent of us, and it's open to anybody across the country who wants to go look at it. It's leadership training with Eric Thompson, and I'm happy to give people the information later. But that, we encourage our brokers. I have 6 offices here in Seattle. I've sent every one of them to the training program, and as a franchise company, it's very difficult to hold our people accountable as well that are franchise owners. So what we try and do is create the tools and then create the why behind it to hopefully get them excited, to help them understand that we're trying to help them run a profitable business that is customer-centric, that helps their agents, that creates a work-life balance that people can be excited about, all the things that are important.
So that's cool that you actually hired an expert to come in and build that internal program, and it sounds like Eric's done a phenomenal job. One of the questions I have for you is, when you have a manager, how many agents can a manager effectively coach? And so, like, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's a really good question. The job of a manager is overwhelming. You got to be everything to everybody at all times, and then to throw in that coaching on whether it's a one-on-one basis or group basis becomes very difficult as well. What we've tried to do is find people who are passionate about coaching and training, whether they're agents or employees or anything else. That's a passion that they have. Most managers that we hire, we don't necessarily hire them because they want to be managers for the full-time job and making a salary. They want to be managers because they have a passion for coaching and training and seeing people succeed. So the key for us, what we've tried to do, is find those people within the office and give them a role for that coaching and accountability, and to alleviate some of the pressure on the principal broker. So that's kind of how we've dealt with it.
So what's their title? Is it accountability coach? What kind of title do you give them?
That's a good question. I don't think we really give them a title. We don't formalize it to the point where it's I guess you would more, I don't want to call it this, but the term in the past has been mentor. And I think it's more of somebody who does hold them accountable and has, and somebody that another agent can lean on. But we haven't typically given them titles. So,
what are some of the challenges you've run into as you've implemented the program over the years? You've been doing this for several years now. Initially, if you can go back to when you said, okay, we're gonna implement a coaching program company-wide. What are some of the pushbacks or challenges you ran into?
I think the biggest pushback for any coaching or training is back to regular. I keep going back to accountability, and it's consistent engagement in whatever training or coaching that you've subscribed to. So, Larry, as part of Ninja training, for instance, he encourages people to do a weekly meeting where they pick a topic and they beat it up and they figure it out. And I think currently I have one of my offices who still, after 5 years, has that weekly meeting going. So people, finding the time in busy real estate to continue your coaching experience, your accountability, do all the things you're supposed to be doing, it's really hard. And so constantly talking about it, constantly engaging in different ways, whether it's starting up something like the Olympics or You know, people call them brown bags, where you bring in an expert speaker, you know, for a lunch thing or whatever it is. I think that's the biggest challenge that we see. And it's nice, you know, another plug, I guess, for Moxi Works is the program. The way we have it set up within our company is first thing you see when you log into our intranet site is your Moxi Works dashboard, which has your goals, your progress, all of the contacts, everything you've been doing online. So it's constant reinforcement of the same coaching. We didn't have Moxi Works when we started Ninja. That it would have been helpful to do that, just so they have the technology tied with the actual program. That would have been a nicer start, but we have it now. So.
Yeah, you know, that which gets measured gets done, and if there's no measuring stick of what people are doing, it's really difficult to find out where the problems are and go in and help them.
Yeah, that's right.
And I can see that having that tool as a manager or broker owner, and then being able to see how your agents are getting things done or not getting things done, you can go in and address the real issues. Yeah. Oftentimes they'll tell you, I don't have any leads, and the reality is they're just not working.
Yeah, that's true.
Very, very, it's fascinating to talk to you and to talk about the success you've had as a company. Let me look on just the message board. I know I've got a couple of questions. One of the questions that is up is as you've identified this additional person in the offices as a mentor, and we'll use that term. How, are you compensating them? Are you giving them kudos? Tell me about the.
Yeah,
what makes it worth it for them.
There's different ways to do it. For newer agents, it's easier for us to compensate based on a referral type program. You know, so the first 3 deals that an agent does, they'll pay a referral fee to their mentor coach. On an ongoing basis, what we've done mostly for us, for instance, we have a threshold, and let's call it for here in Seattle of $25,000. We'll say that's a reduced threshold to 0. So, you know, it costs the company $25,000. That person doesn't have to pay their fees to us. So that's we have different models of compensation, whether it's us as a company or individual brokers paying that coach mentor.
So there's some creativity there. I like that.
Yeah.
From a numbers perspective, this is kind of a follow-up question on a previous question is how many agents can a mentor handle?
Oh man.
What have you seen work well, and where have you seen like it's too many?
Yeah, it's really difficult to answer. This is just interesting timing and coincidence, but I sit above one of our offices that we own, and the manager of the office was a 2-time Olympiad, and so he really understands coaching well. He's the kind of guy who likes being coached and likes being part of a process. And what he's done is employed a group training and accountability within the group. And so he has currently, I want to say, about 8 people going through that program. And I think he can manage that pretty damn well. I think that people feel supported. I think they have accountability. I think they're all doing great. When you start to get in a one-on-one basis, it becomes much more challenging on time, how much time you have. So depends on the person's style and the structure that they employ, but I would say, you know, no more than 6 or 7. To me, becomes more difficult.
Yeah, if they're listing and selling, you know, I've got just as a number, and I'll throw this out to you. You know, all of my coaches, with the exception of one, run 7-figure teams, meaning they're generating a lot of real estate, and they have to commit to take on 5 clients. And at 5 clients, that's a lot. Yep. So if they're going to be a coach, 5 clients is kind of capacity. Now, if they're not running, and it's interesting, what I've learned, and this is something that you can speak to as well, is that as they've become coaches and they're actually holding other people accountable, their own performance increases because they feel like hypocrites if they're not doing it themselves.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. It's interesting how that
so
works, isn't it?
It's really cool, isn't it? So now you know,
cool.
the side benefit is you might be giving them a discount on their fees or their cap, or they're getting a referral fee, but the real benefit is their own productivity increases as a result of being a coach.
Yeah, I also think culturally it's a huge win for an office. People give back. It's amazing.
Well, it sounds like you've created an incredible culture of productivity within Windermere, and I congratulate you and a high five through the phone for the tenacity to stay with the program and keep it going for as long as you've done.
Thanks, Verl. Appreciate it.
I know it's really impressive, and it's going to be fun to get to know more about you and your company as we get to know each other after the event.
Absolutely.
I'd like to, if it's okay with you, Obi, I'm gonna jump into our next guest, and then if you don't mind staying on the line with us,
I'll do it.
I want to hear a little bit about. Let me see if I can get my slide about Long & Foster and what Long & Foster is doing to incorporate a coaching culture. And we've got a phenomenal guest with us. We've got Jeff Detwiler, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Long & Foster Companies. And Long & Foster is one of the great brands in the industry, and they've done an amazing job at maintaining I'm going to call it a traditional real estate brokerage and a great brand amid some of the biggest upturns and downturns in the industry. And it's been really fun to watch Long & Foster continue to grow and to maintain their level of professionalism through the different cycles that we go through. And Jeff, it's a pleasure to have you. Jeff's responsibility and has been responsible for guiding the strategic direction of the organization and overseeing its daily operations. Long & Foster consists of 6 major business lines: a general brokerage, the property management side, relocation, mortgage settlement services, and insurance, as well as a bunch of other smaller ventures that are in related businesses. Long & Foster operates in 7 different states across Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions and the District of Columbia. It has more than 225 locations, 1,800 employees, and over 10,500 real estate agents. So with 30 years experience in financial services industry, Jeff brings an enormous amount of experience to Long & Foster. Much of that time has been devoted to various segments of banking and mortgage and investment. His background also includes insurance and portfolio management. Jeff, you've got an impressive resume, and you've got a great company you're working with today. How are things going?
Things are going really well. Thanks, Verl. Good afternoon to everybody else. If I can, I appreciate you giving an overview of Long & Foster to our audience. I just want to stress one thing as we get started in this quick description is 225 branches, 10,500 agents. We've got 2 presidents in our real estate business. We've got 8 regional managers and 175 branch managers. That is the essence of a distributed sales force. And success at Long & Foster is absolutely dependent on effective communication, definitive agent training, and continuous coaching.
Well,
and so
that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Real quick, I got to share with you one thing. One of my favorite agents in the entire country is Melinda Estridge with Long & Foster.
Oh, I know Melinda well. Yeah, she's great.
She's one of my favorite people, and as a former president of RISMedia's top 5 in real estate, we did a meetup, and this kind of perpetuates the culture that you've created. And everybody comes and they share their best ideas. And Melinda showed up at this event with 2 briefcases, and I remember it was in Washington D.C. at a mid-year NAR, and she sat down at a table, and everybody was telling the one thing they did. She opened up her briefcases and says, I've completely redone all my marketing, I've redone all of my advertising, and I've brought copies of everything that I'm doing that's generating this huge success so you can all have it and copy it. And that giving attitude is what attracted me to her initially, and as I've gotten to know her over the years, she's just a phenomenal giver, and the reason she's with Long & Foster is because of the culture that has been created in that environment. So congratulations for that, and that's intentional, not accidental.
Thank you very much. Yeah, she's a great lady, and I think you nailed it. She's a giver, and many of her peers are givers also, where they've been very successful, and they're more than willing to give back to other agents in the business overall, and certainly to other newer Long & Foster agents.
That's awesome. So about your distributed sales force. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do today, Verl, with the audience is just I've been at Long & Foster for a little less than 7 years, and so what I wanted to do is just walk the audience through a really quick story about how we at Long & Foster evaluated training and coaching and ultimately got to Moxi Works and the product Moxi Engage as the solution for a challenge that I think lots of brokers have throughout the country. And so if I could, this first slide, I just want to describe it real quickly. The essence of this first slide is that, I wanted to get a look at these 10,500 salespeople that we have on a distributed basis, and I wanted to see what they looked like when I rank ordered them relative to each other, So I simplified the report I actually run all the time for our agents, but I would just like to describe it to our audience. On the left-hand side, it's the percentile in terms of numbers of agents. So 100% equates to 10,500 agents, and then each one percentile would be roughly 100 agents. And so we rank order them, and we look at the first 100 agents and their volume, their GCI, the company dollar, their capture rates as it relates to mortgage, title, insurance. And so as salespeople, how are they doing? And something very interesting jumped out at me when I ran this the first time, and subsequently when I first got here, is that there was a very clear cut line, that heavy blue line between the 21 to 25th percentile and the 26th and the remaining group. And that cut line was really about performance. And what we saw is that 25 percentile, they were very successful agents. They were successful in their volume, their GCI. Nobody would look at that group and argue that they weren't very successful agents. And there was an enormous gap when you looked at the remaining 75. And those, I don't believe anybody would argue with the fact that those 75% of the agents needed additional development. In my mind, I would say that those top 25% are real estate professionals, and the remaining 75% are really agents with a license. And as I've furthered this conversation across the country, when we talk about large groups of agents and sales performance, this distribution is not unique to Long & Foster. It's fairly common across the country. I think if you were to look at NAR's 1 million agents, you would see the same kind of cut line. So what we ask ourselves early on when I got here is, so what's the difference? What makes the difference between this group at the top and the remaining? And what we thought is, if you can flip the slide, it's pretty simple. After interviews and research and things like that, what we determined is the group, the top 25 percentile of real estate professionals that were successful had a plan. They could sit down like Melinda Estridge and articulate their plan and what they're doing, and they've got it all captured. And with the bottom 75%, as you would talk to them, they didn't have a plan. I mean, you could talk to them, and when they were in the morning, they didn't necessarily know what they were going to do after lunch that day. They would figure it out when it came. And so we thought it's really all about having a plan or not having a plan, and shouldn't that be relatively simple for us to just coach them up on the need to have a plan? So our initial solution, if you can flip the slide, our initial solution was, let's develop a coaching program to educate and promote the need for a plan, for all agents to have a plan. Let's coach them to set goals, that they need to monitor their own performance, and then they need to hold themselves accountable. And we had our branch managers coach them on this particular plan. We did that, but we really didn't see the desired effect. There was no noticeable improvement at that particular point in time. Okay, so back to the drawing board. If you go to the next slide, please. Further research. Why we didn't see it? Is it not coaching? We went, and when we dug into it further, we realized the ultimate reason is not so simple, but the real estate professionals had a clear sales discipline. Now that 25% had a multitude of different sales disciplines, but they had sales discipline. They had a structured way that they approached the sales aspect of their business. And when we interviewed and worked with that remaining 75%, they clearly did not have a sales discipline. And so we felt, all right, we can't go out and coach them if we haven't trained them what they need to do. So it was about now figuring out how to train them in a sales discipline. We said to ourselves, look, there's no right or wrong answer as it relates to a sales discipline. If they have a sales discipline, that's the right answer. If they have no sales discipline, then that's the wrong answer. What we wanted our agents to do is frequently and consistently touch their potential customer, really connect with their sphere. Very simple concept. The activities of today, what we keep telling them, activities of today for tomorrow's transactions. It's like planting seeds today for tomorrow's harvest. And that's what we tried to train them and get embedded in their thought process. So the ultimate solution that we went to, if you can flip the slide, was we trained our agents on a sales discipline. Let's see, can you flip the slide, Verl?
So I flipped it. Is it not showing on your deck?
No, it's not. Okay, so, but on this ultimate solution, we trained our agents on a sales discipline, and that sales discipline was really about touching your sphere as frequently as you possibly can. It was then about coaching the agents that they have to have a plan that utilizes their sales discipline. We trained them that they have to set goals. They've got to monitor those goals. They've got to adjust if they're not meeting those goals. What we found for ourselves, and this is part of the punchline, is that as you can imagine, with 175 managers and 10,500 agents, doing this training and coaching, we needed some kind of institutional platform at Long & Foster to support our managers trying to accomplish this, and to provide some kind of accountability, because accountability is just essential. Okay, so the institutional support platform, as we went out and looked at the various platforms that could help us with a sales discipline of getting our agents to touch their sphere, we selected Moxi Engage. It's all about a sales discipline. It makes connecting with your sphere simple and efficient. We then at Long & Foster prioritized our agents. We prioritized agents with a license versus our real estate professionals. Doesn't mean that we don't work hard in supporting that top 25 percentile, but where we've really prioritized our focus and our work is with that remaining 75% that needs development, and that's where we've really focused our specific sales training and coaching. And so what Moxi allows you to do is to set the goals. The dashboard allows our managers a great platform to coach from because of what it provides you, this built-in accountability feature, and ultimately we think it leads us to success. It's not one of the nice things about this system is that it's not just another benefit that makes an agent's life easier. It's really all about increasing productivity for the agent. And so, in conclusion of my story, I strongly believe, regardless of where you are and what company you're working with, generally speaking, agent populations that are untrained and not coached are destined to have a minority success rate, meaning 25% of them will be successful because they personally have that skill set and capability to have a plan, to set goals, hold themselves accountable. But 75% of us don't necessarily have that inherent capability, and will struggle unless somebody helps us with it. You have to train your people first. and then coach them with what you've trained. I think it's important to prioritize training sales discipline. That is an essential building block. If a agent doesn't have a sales discipline, I can't imagine how they can ultimately be successful. And then you got to coach the plan. And I sort of have the description of what we see a plan is. And the system makes this, the Moxi Engage system just makes this much easier for us as a company to oversee and deploy, and it will lead greatly to success in this endeavor.
So that's a lot of information. I have several questions. If you don't mind me jumping in, just asking a few.
Yeah, sure, please.
When you talked about sales discipline throughout the presentation, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. Can you define that a little bit more narrowly? What you mean by having a sales discipline?
Yeah, so I think that I've only been in the business that most of us are in for about 7 years now. I come from a different line of work, but with salespeople, whether you're selling real estate, whether you're selling COGS, or whether you're selling widgets, there has to be a sales discipline. And I think that if you go to great companies across the country, IBM, Xerox of yesterday, Microsoft of today, and a variety of others, they teach their salespeople a sales discipline. And I think the essence of a sales discipline is to have a structure around what you do as it relates to creating transactions. So how are you going to generate your leads? How do you take your leads and move them through the process to become transactions? This sales discipline is every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to follow this routine in order to create transactions. And it goes back to that simple saying, it's like a farmer. The farmer doesn't go out and sit there and stare at his field and say, I hope corn grows. The farmer goes out and has a discipline of tilling the soil, planting the seeds, watering the seeds, cultivating, and eventually he harvests that. And I think that every salesperson has to do that same thing. Those daily activities are what makes up the sales discipline in our mind.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the execution of coaching within your company. So now you've got a platform and you've got a plan that's laid out, which is deploying the sales discipline, setting the goal, executing the activities, monitoring, adjust. What are some of the challenges, and how do you actually do that? What are the human resources that are required to start with an office, if you will, make that happen?
Yeah. Well, obviously you can imagine that's a bit of a challenge. Our coaching resources are our branch managers and the branches that have sales managers also. So, for us, we have 175 coaches plus because we've got that many branch managers, and then we've got sales managers on top of that. We have a training department, internal training department with instructors that train our trainers. So when it comes to coaching, we train our branch managers and sales managers how to become good coaches. Because they're not going to be as good of coaches across the board as some of the professionals that are out there that have their own companies and things like that, what we try to do is limit the scope of what they're coaching and keep them focused on this particular aspect of training a sales discipline and then coaching them to establish a plan and work their plan. And we give them Moxi Engage to help them in order to provide a dashboard and an overview of their branch office and the team that they're coaching, and being able to hold those team members or agents accountable to being engaged with the training.
So as you look at your numbers, as you've incorporated, we'll call it a minimum level of coaching expectation on your branch managers, and you have a specific plan that they're executing, are you able to see real results that you track?
We do. So I think it's important to know that January of this year was when we officially launched Moxi Engage within our footprint. It takes a long time to cover the 10,500 agents, and we do it in kind of a waterfall effect, right? We have big regional meetings with hundreds of agents at each regional meeting. You know, you run a couple of those in each region, then it goes down at the office level, and then where it really gets impactful is when you get down to the one-on-one coaching and training of those agents. We track, I think everybody knows adoption is the hardest thing in this traditional real estate business. There's a lot of great tools out there, but adoption is where the real key to success is. Early on, the first thing we have to do is get people to utilize the system. So today we have over 3 million contacts in the CRM. In aggregate, so that's a significant number. Now, I think that when we're done, or when we kind of plateau out, we're going to be at 5 or 6 million, I think, contacts. 31% of our agents have set a goal. 8% of our agents have run 3 transactions through Moxi Engage. We then also are monitoring the number of subscriptions for the various pieces of content that Moxi Engage has and sends out automatically on behalf of the agent to the subscribe to consumers, and we track that. And so, you know, really only 7 months into this thing, we're pretty happy with our numbers, but we really are, what we're anxious about is in 24 months. You know, where are we in 24 months? Because I think we're planting seeds today, and we're going to be harvesting 24 months from now.
That's awesome, and I think that that's a very realistic expectation as you're implementing a coaching program in any organization. This the first 12 months, you're just figuring it out. The second 12 months, you start to reap the benefits of the work that you did those first 12. Another question is, from a company that has 175 managers, 175 coaches, if you will, how do you walk the fine line between accountability and ticking people off to the point where they want to leave? Because you want to help them be successful, but if you push them too hard, then they're going to go somewhere where their broker won't bug them.
Yeah, yeah. So we start out, there's kind of three key elements to that. First and foremost, we make a base case. We make a case and we appeal to their judgment and to their business acumen. We make a base case why this is in the best interest of the agent, ultimately the best interest of the consumer, and in the best interest of our company and for them. Number two is, after we make that base case of kind of building a reason why, we then set goals and objectives for them individually, and we incent them on them. And then thirdly, we provide them an accountability capability so that they can track it and they know that we have the ability to watch also. I think that, you know, we really try to motivate with a carrot and not with a stick. If you're doing it solely with a stick, you know, things aren't working and something's wrong. There will be times for various reasons in any company that people will select themselves out if they feel, not that people are on them too much, but more along the lines, hey, this is just not the right fit for me. But we haven't had that kind of, we haven't had anything like that manifest itself here.
Do the business principles that you talk about, and you're talking about some pretty awesome business principles, how would you scale them down to the mom and pop or to the boutique size brokerage?
Those principles, those three things that I talked about?
Yeah. Or the whole implementation of a coaching plan.
Yeah, I just think that I think it's actually easier, you know, if I had a one office company, I would find it much easier because I would have the ability to connect one-on-one with each one of my agents. And I think that it's easy to present to an agent what a sales discipline is, per your earlier question. What is a sales discipline, and why would you want to deploy a sales discipline? I think that's easy for us to explain. Number two is it's then about implementing that, deploying that sales discipline within your plan. And a plan is simply, where do you want to go? Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What's your value proposition, meaning why is somebody going to pay you something versus somebody else? And then giving you an opportunity to monitor where you are versus your goals. And I just think that that is so basic in the world of sales, regardless of if it's real estate you're selling or, as I said before, cogs or widgets.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And people think that you have to have these big resources of 10,000 agents or 6,000 agents to implement a coaching program. But the reality is that there's a lot of solutions out there where we can apply a coaching program to a brokerage. It's just having the attitude that coaching makes a difference in the outcome of your agents. And if you're willing to apply coaching, then it does make a difference. Can you describe for me?
Can I just add? Verl,
Yeah.
Can I add one thing, because I think you're spot on, and what I'm going to answer the question about coaching is that there's a lot of conversation about, why have teams started and things like that, and I've distilled it down. In my personal opinion, the reason why teams, the essence of why teams are created, is because team leaders provide the leads and the coaching that the broker isn't providing them, and there's clearly must be a void there in coaching and training, and the team leader fills that void. I believe that strongly, that is one of the core reasons for the advent of teams.
I can't disagree with you. I think that's absolutely true. Would you mind, from your perspective, just kind of sharing with me what you believe the difference is between training and coaching?
Well, so coaching, I think, is how you utilize a skill. I think that a skill is something you train somebody to do. So, if we make a sports analogy, the coaching staff first trains players or team members how to do a particular skill. And then what they do is they coach them how to use that particular skill in various scenarios. So I think that the base or the foundation, the building block, is to be trained in various skills, and then I think coaching is a more broader umbrella of how to use a variety of different skills that you've been trained in to get the greatest impact that you want.
That's a great analogy, and there's a lot of misunderstanding of the difference between coaching versus mentoring versus training, right? And people think that if they have one, they have all three. And your analogy is let me rephrase this to see if I understand the way you described it. Training is where you learn something new. Coaching is when you apply it and then have somebody else help you get better execution of that application that sees your game from a different perspective.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, very, very good. Fascinating discussion today. I'm gonna invite Obi back on. Obi, are you still with us?
I am.
Let me ask you the same question. How would you define the difference between coaching and training?
I think Jeff hit it right on the head. I think the only thing I would add to that is accountability. I think that you can train all the right skills all the time, but without the positive reinforcements, then all it is training.
Yeah. We have a lot of agents that Can you still hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, did I go blank? That was weird. Sorry about that. I just said we have a lot of agents that have a lot of CE classes that don't do any transactions, but they're well educated.
That's right.
Hey, so we have to train them.
Real quick, I know this is kind of odd, but right as we were talking, I was telling you about the Olympic lead generation type program that we were doing. I just got an email from one of our agents that says, hey guys, I thought I would let you know that as a result of blocking out all of my cards for the last 2 weeks, I now have all this new upcoming business, or at least people talking about the business that are about doing business. It's already been a super busy year, but I was hoping to chill the remainder of the year. I guess I'll keep working to put some college money away. So when Jeff said, you know, how to implement on a one-office basis, it's you just got to design something and put it in place, right? And the agents will get behind it. So anyway.
Yeah.
I love that. Let me, as we're kind of running out of time here, let me ask each of you just one question. If there's one thing that you would encourage a brokerage of any size to do in relationship to coaching, what's the first step? What's the first thing or most important thing that they do?
I can start. We did a study on our agents. The very first step to anything for us is having a database that's in order. And so we took a look at our agent population, and we had 2/3 that had a database and 1/3 that didn't. Of the third that didn't, and the 2/3 that did, the 2/3 income was double. Then we further studied the people who had a database, and of the people who had it written down versus people who had it categorized and were working it, it was the exact same. Their income was double of the people that weren't really doing anything with their database. So first step for me is have a database and learn how to use it.
Awesome. Jeff?
Yeah, so you know what, because I think that is such an awesome point, I'm going to just say ditto on the database. As we've gone through putting these 3 million customers in the database, the agents across the board, when they take this, they go through this event and they evaluate their current database, they say, boy, this really needs cleaned up. And two is we've had an enormous number of leads that get generated out of the cleanup work of getting your database in a really efficient, workable fashion. And so I think the database is essential. And it's surprising the number of salespeople that don't have a good, clean database to work on.
Well, you guys have been, gentlemen, have been amazing, and thank you for sharing so much information. If I can leave everybody with a thought, I was thinking about this in a coaching environment. People ask me all the time, who do you coach? You know, who do you want to coach? And as I was watching the Olympics the other night, I was watching the 400-meter sprint, and the American favorite was just about to win. And the gal from the Bahamas came up behind her and dove across the finish line. Did you guys see that race?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
Unbelievable. When people ask me who I coach the one who dove and stole the gold medal away from the American favorite because she wanted it more. And she got to that place where, you know, she had nothing left to give, and so she gave that one last effort. And that's who we coach. That's who I look for in a coaching environment. And as owners of companies and as brokers and managers, if you look for those agents that are willing to put forth that extra effort, those are the ones that you invest your time and resources in, and they're the ones that'll change the culture of your companies. And it's been fun to talk to both of you as you've incorporated this coaching culture. You're absolutely right, spot on target with what you're doing with your companies. And I know as a result of that, there's going to be great success. And OB, you've already started to see it as you've run this program from time to time. For those of you who are managers or brokers that want to figure out how to do and get your agents to the next level, Moxi Works has provided a white paper for us on coaching your agents to success. If you go to workmansuccess.com/potential, you can download that Coaching Your Agents to Success ebook, and it's absolutely free for being here. We'll also send you a follow-up email with a link to the recording of the call so you can get the information that came from our presenters, and you'll be invited to do a free coaching consult where one of my business managers will have a conversation with you to see if there's a way that we can help you with the coaching solution you need in your business. On behalf of RISMedia and our Long & Foster, Windermere, and our awesome guests today, thank you all for being here today. Have a phenomenal rest of the year as we kick it into high gear and dive across the finish line and make 2016 our best year ever. Thanks everybody for being here.